What's going on, everybody? I'm Jerry, and today we have my Week 13 picks going through all 13 games this week and hoping to get as many right as possible. It's going to be a tough week. I was having a tough time picking against the spreads, and I do the score prediction against the spread and straight up, and a lot of them were tough. I had a lot of covering. There's been a lot of closer, lower scoring games, so it just made it a lot more difficult for me to pick this week. And let's get right into it. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the first Thursday night game, which I am recording this Thursday morning. It is currently 8:42 in the morning, and I'm recording this. It might go up a little bit after the first game has started. Oh well, you'll see very soon if I get this pick, Seahawks Cowboys, correct. And this is kind of going against what's happened for both teams all season long. The Cowboys have really blown out a lot of teams and beat a lot of teams that have bad records. And the Seahawks haven't been playing well. I'm kind of marking this as a get-right game for them, having them cover the spread. I think the Cowboys are going to put up a lot of points. I'm just kind of hoping that Charbonnet can have a great week and help the Seahawks put up points with Kenneth Walker most likely being out. They have had injury problems. Leonard Williams might not play either. It looks like he's going to, but it's a tough one there. They haven't said anything yet, so I'm going to take the Cowboys to win, but I felt like 8.5 was too much, and the Cowboys really have only beat bad teams. And granted, the Seahawks haven't looked good recently. Seahawks also beat the Lions early on, and they've played close games against some good teams. So I feel like they can in this case too. I'm taking the Seahawks to cover, but the Cowboys winning 24-31. Next, we have the Chargers-Patriots. This one seemed pretty simple. Thought about making it an even lower scoring game with how the Chargers looked last week. Not that the Patriots have this great defense, but I think either way the Chargers are going to cover the spread. I think, I could have done like 17-10 or something along those lines. But I picked 24-13. Chargers just seem to put up about that many points every week, with last week against the Ravens kind of being the outlier. And the Patriots have a really tough time putting up points. I just think they'll put up more than the 7 last week, because I think Bailey Zappi is going to be a little bit better. I think he'll take a little bit better care of the football. When he's turned the ball over going in for Mac Jones late in the game, it's really because he's been playing from behind, and he's had to make tougher throws and be more aggressive. So I think Bailey Zappi is going to be the better option. And I think they'll get a few more points, but I don't think it's going to be astronomically different. And they've still been having problems getting in the end zone, regardless of getting down the field. So I feel like touchdown, 2 field goals seems about right. A little better than last week. Still losing to the Chargers, 24-13. Then we had the Cardinals-Steelers, which felt tougher because we had this weird emergence of the Steelers putting up points on offense. So that's why I put them at 21 there. Had a lot of offense, couldn't get in the end zone. I don't think the Cardinals' defense is great, but I also don't think the Steelers' offense is great. And I think Kyler Murray is going to cause a few problems for the Steelers' defense, who's been great, but it definitely seems like a lower scoring game. I don't know what the total score is at right now, but I mean, I've got it at 34 points here, so there's a chance it could be a little higher than that. Might be a good one to take the under. Also, though, I don't know how Kyler Murray is going to do against these Steelers, so it's tough for me to tell. I'm still taking the Steelers, and I don't know, 5.5. Although the Steelers have really only won a lot of their games very close, I feel like they could. I feel like they could cover this one, and their offense looked the best it's looked in years. So I'm hoping they can continue with that and beat the Cardinals 21-13, covering that spread. Again, the helmet. If you haven't been watching the videos, the helmet, my logo is showing who I'm picking against the spread, because it's obvious who I want to win in the score prediction. Colts, Titans. I picked the Colts to score 27 strictly because 3 out of the last 4 weeks they've scored 27 points. And I thought that was hilarious because 27 is not a common score. So I'm just picking it again. There's probably no way that they score 27 points again, but 3 out of the last 4 weeks, I'm going to try it. And I also think the Titans, I think they'll look a little bit better. I feel like the Colts defense hasn't been super great to where the Titans can probably put up points, especially Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be able to get down the field. Colts run defense has just kind of been okay. It's not, amazing, but it's not horrible. So I feel like Derrick Henry's going to be able to go a little bit wild. If Will Levis can get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, I think he could see a good week there. But I don't think they're going to be able to do enough to beat the Colts. The Colts have been able to do enough to win, and I think the 1.5 point spread is just too low to me. I feel like pretty confidently that the Colts can win this game. I know Mike Vrabel's looking for a get-right game too, and the Colts are a winnable game. So I understand the spread. I just felt like I had to pick the Colts in this one, taking down the Titans 27-20. Next, we have the Broncos-Texans. This one, I went back and forth, and I was like, you know what? Stroud stays close in these games, usually does enough to tie or win. He played against the Jaguars, who I think are a better team than the Broncos, especially with how the Broncos started the year. I think recency bias would say you're not going to have the Broncos win. They just beat the Chiefs. They just beat the Bills. And the Bills? They just beat a bunch of good teams. I think I just said the wrong team there. But they've played against tough teams, and they've won. And they just continue to do that. But I think the Texans, this would be a good get-right game for them after the bad loss last week off the crossbar. So I feel like they can play a close game and win this one. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like DeMeco Ryans is going to be able to scheme up something to slow down Russ and that Broncos offense. And then I think we're going to have to see if Stroud can protect the ball like he was earlier on this year, because the Broncos defense has been doing a good job at forcing turnovers. Damon Pierce, I believe, is back, but it doesn't seem like when he's come back, he's been fully healthy yet. So I think Singletary's still going to get majority of the carries, and he's done well. So we'll see how the Broncos can do against that. Maybe Damon Pierce is stronger and poses more of a power back threat in this game. Would love to see that. I got to take the Texans here. I also think the Broncos can scheme up to slow down Tank Dell, and I think Nico Collins could actually have a pretty decent game this week, because I think you're going to see Surtain on Tank Dell fairly often. So I'm taking the Texans over the Broncos, 31-28, but the Broncos covering the 3.5 point spread seemed like too much for me. Lions Saints. This one was tough because the Lions have been playing sloppy football, but so have the Saints. And the Saints have just found ways to lose games, and the Lions have they had a great offense. Jared Goff doesn't know how to stop turning the ball over, so I think the Saints could take advantage of that. But I think the Lions will be good enough to win this game. But I think it could look kind of similar to the Bears game, where the Bears-Lions game, the Bears were in it the whole game and even winning. Towards the end, they should have won that game. Lions end up winning. The Saints it's been rough for them. So I'm picking the Lions to take down the Saints, but I have the Saints covering. Again, we only had the one spread of 1.5 points this week, and all the other ones have been like 3-4 plus. And it just seems like some of these teams could cover, and I'm having a hard time picking who wins. I feel confident that the Lions can win, but the Saints need to win a game soon, to show who they are and actually try to take back over the division. And so I felt like it was too close for me, but I'm taking the Lions over the Saints. Saints covering a little large 4.5 point spread for me. This one, too, the fact that the Falcons are only 2.5 after beating the Saints last week, and with how bad the Jets have been, I don't get it. I feel like the Jets' defense is going to play well, and if they can force Ritter to have to pass the ball, I think the Jets could win and keep it close and potentially win. But what is their defense going to score too? Their offense can't seem to do anything, and the Falcons do have a pretty good defense, so this definitely seems like another lower scoring game. I just think that the run game, I think the Jets will be able to slow it down, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop it. And I think that's going to lead to some Falcons points. I think it's going to lead to some Jets field goals. I think they could force some turnovers and potentially, get some good field position, maybe get a couple field goals off of it. And then the spread 2.5 seemed very low for me with how bad the Jets have been playing. So I'm taking the Falcons 17-13, covering the spread. Next we have Dolphins Commanders. This one was kind of surprisingly tough to pick against the spread, at least because the Commanders have been shit recently. But earlier on, they were able to keep close in some games just by putting up a lot of points. But the Dolphins can too, and the Dolphins defense is playing a lot better. So I'm kind of just banking on Sam Howell making a couple big plays and getting them to 20 points. But the Dolphins seem like a clear winner for me here, and 9.5 points almost doesn't seem like enough, even though, like I said, the Commanders have been kind of sneaky some weeks where Sam Howell, they'll throw for 400 yards, but they'll only score like 13 points or whatever it is. So I don't know. I feel like they'll be able to capitalize a couple times, but having the Dolphins win and cover was kind of a no-brainer. I just wasn't really sure how high of a score to pick. So this is what we got. Dolphins winning 35-20. If you watched my picks video last week, I did have multiple games where I picked the exact score of one team or the other. No, both teams last week, but I had like 4 games where I picked the exact score of a specific team. So hoping to do that a few times this week. We'll see what happens. Again, I don't feel super confident this week, but the Dolphins win 35-20. Panthers, Buccaneers. This is another one where I feel like Panthers last week only lost by 7 to the Titans, so I don't think are very good. I also don't think the Buccaneers are very good. I think the Panthers are still consistently trying to win it. I don't know if Vita Vea is playing. I feel like that has a huge part on what's going to happen here, because I think the Panthers will be able to get the ball downfield running the ball with Hubbard and Sanders if Vita Vea is not there. And I also think that hurts their pass rush, where Bryce Young has really not done well this season because of being under pressure. So 19 I'm getting from 4 field goals and a touchdown. I feel like the Panthers are going to be able to produce some offense. I don't think they're going to be able to get all the way down the field and score often, so that's why I have them at 19. But I do think the Buccaneers are going to win. I just think you feel like, are the Panthers really going to go 1-16? I don't see winnable games for them, but I see games where they can get close. This being one of them, 5.5 seemed like too much for me, so I'm taking the Panthers to cover. But the Buccaneers winning 19-24. Next, we have the 49ers Eagles. This one, I really had no idea. I didn't know what to pick at all. So I had said in the thumbnail, this is the NFC Championship preview, is really what it is. The Eagles being dogs at home doesn't make any sense at all. It's Philadelphia. San Fran, they have to fly all the way across the country, and the Eagles have found ways to win games. I think the 49ers are the more complete team. Their defense is a lot better. Sucks that Hufanga's out, but I don't think the 49ers are going to be a team to stop the push. Maybe they could hold one, but we're going to probably see at least 3 or 4 this game. And the Eagles have gotten off to slow starts, so I think you could see the 49ers take an early lead. And I think the Eagles are going to be playing from behind, but the 49ers defense is going to be strong enough to hold them off and hold off for the win. Reason I have the Eagles covering this measly 2.5 point spread is because I feel very confident that they could just will their way to win this game as well. So I really didn't know what to pick here, and that's why we have 49ers winning, Eagles covering the spread. That way, ideally, I get some sort of win unless the 49ers lose by... I guess either way, I'm pretty much covering unless, I'm getting something right here. Probably not getting both right. We'll see what happens. I got the 49ers 23-21. Think it could be a little higher scoring too, with the struggling defense of the Eagles. Browns, Rams, I don't know. This is another one where, Rams won last week, but it was against Cardinals, and the Browns have just found ways to win games, even against good teams with their backup quarterback in. It sounds like DTR is going to be the starter, but Joe Flacco could play if DTR isn't healthy enough with that injury. I don't know if it changes their hope for me, but 3.5 just seemed like too many points. Like the fact that the Browns can lose by a field goal. I think you're factoring in. I don't think we know if Myles Garrett's going to play, so that probably affects us a lot. If Myles Garrett doesn't play, I think the Rams cover the 3.5. If Myles Garrett plays, I think the Browns could win. I think he's that much of a difference maker. So we'll see what happens. But I got the Rams winning 17-14. Browns covering the spread, again, because I feel like there's a lot of question marks and not a lot to know. This is the craziest one for me that I thought. 6-point spread. Packers are at home. It's a tough place to play. Chiefs 24, Packers 20. I don't know. For me, it's like I think the Chiefs have been good, but a lot of times their wide receivers just can't catch the ball. And the Packers defense, as of recent, hasn't played amazing. They played against some tough teams too, and but the offense has also been clicking. And I think the Chiefs defense is going to be able to slow them down. I almost think this is too high of a scoring game. I just feel like the Chiefs have kind of been able to put up 20 points a game, and I feel like the Packers could cover. So I think I probably could have done like 17-13, 17-14 or something like that too. I just have it at 24-20. Just seemed right. Again, could be a little high on this one, but I feel like the Packers can cover. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and +6 seemed like a lot to me. Could be a dominating Chiefs win. That's very possible too. I'm kind of buying into this recency bias with Jordan Love looking good. And until last week, the Chiefs kind of debunked it, but they didn't score any touchdowns in the second, or any points, I think, in the second half of like their last 3 games. So the Packers, on the other hand, have been great in the second half. So it's tough for me. I think that's why I think the Packers can keep it close. Is I think they could have another great second half, and the Chiefs don't score any points. It could be 24-7, and then Packers get a couple field goals and a touchdown, and then cover that spread. But Chiefs are winning 24-20 against the Packers. Again, 6 seemed like too much for me. Bengals Jaguars. This is another one where we've seen the Bengals, even with Jake Browning, be able to keep games close. I think they need to run the ball more this game. Joe Mixon got 8 carries last week. Yes, it was only for 16 yards. I've been preaching for it every week. Run the ball more. The couple convincing wins that they have, they ran the ball a lot with Joe Mixon. So I feel like they're going to need to do that to win, especially with a new quarterback in Jake Browning. I think that would be very helpful. And then the Jaguars, on the other hand, have won a lot of games, but they've been very close for the most part. So I think 23-17 is fair. 8.5, again, it seemed like too much for me. I know it's in Jacksonville, but 8.5 seemed like too much. That's really all it is. The Bengals have kept close in a lot of games, with Jake Browning even, and the Jaguars have really only had close wins. So it seemed like a match made in heaven, with the Jaguars winning, but the Bengals covering, final score being 23-17. And then we move on to my all-season record. So had a great week last week. Week 12, I was 12-4 straight up, and then I was 11-5 against the spread. So against the spread picks are on their way up. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been very, very positive on the against the spread picks. So I'm finally closing that gap. Hopefully, I still wouldn't completely recommend. My bets last week were great. I think had a good week last week, but I haven't been able to show consistency yet. Also, the better rushing team was also 11-5 last week. Remember the consistent outliers in the Titans, Falcons, and Titans, Falcons, and Bears are teams that will typically run the ball better than the other team that they play against, but also lose. But other than that, the better running team usually wins the game. So keep that in mind. 104-75 is pretty good. I could do a lot better, and I think that that week 7 hurt, and that whole stretch, week 4 through 7, and then the 9 through 11 was not great either. So getting better. We're learning throughout the season. Had a good week last week. Try to keep that up. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day.